We know how to solve these things by now. I know we do. So looking at this first picture, we're going to start with the hypotenuse, like we always do. Label the hypotenuse, and then circle the angle that you're dealing with. Draw your arrow. That will point to the opposite side. And then the other side is the adjacent side. Then use your SOHCAHTOA to decide whether or not you're going to use sine, cosine, or tangent. It all depends on the sides that you're working with. We have the x, we have the 22. That's adjacent and hypotenuse. So I see the sine, cosine, and tangent. Which one involves adjacent and hypotenuse? Well, that's this one right here, adjacent and hypotenuse. That is the cosine function. So that tells me that I need to write down the cosine function. So I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to say cosine of 47 is equal to, and then we've got adjacent over hypotenuse. So that's going to be x over 22. So that is the setup. When the variable is in the numerator, in the top, that is when you multiply. So we are going to multiply both sides by 22 like this. The 22s cancel each other out. So that is going to give us 22 cosine 47 equals x. But this is something that we can simply put in the calculator, which I'm going to have to turn mine on. It takes a second. Okay, come back, calculator. So I'm just going to type in 22 cosine 47. So that's 15.004. Got to round up. Make sure on the quiz tomorrow you are using 3 decimal places, and make sure you are rounding properly according to the rules of rounding. Now the key is included in this. I've just marked out the answers, which are right here, but we can just erase that and check our answer. All right, let's look at the next one. Same deal. All right, and this is the heart of the quiz tomorrow, is solving problems like this. And we always start with the hypotenuse. And then we circle the angle. And we draw an arrow. And that will always point at the opposite side, meaning that this will be the adjacent side. Then we use SOHCAHTOA to help us decide whether we will use sine, cosine, or tangent. And it's all about the sides. All right, we've got the 45 and the x. That's opposite and hypotenuse. Which trig function is that? Well, opposite and hypotenuse is right here. So that's why I'm going to use the sine function. So time to set up the sine function. So I'm going to say sine of the angle is equal to opposite over hypotenuse. In this case, that's 45 over x. We have learned that when the variable is in the denominator, in the bottom, what we do is we swap these. So we're going to take this and this, and we're going to do this. Okay, if we do that, then the x is going to end up over here on the left side. The 45 doesn't move. the sine 56 is going to end up in the denominator. And then this is something that can be put in the calculator. Okay, so I'm going to have 45 over sine 56. So that is 54.279, but then the next number is an 8, so I have to round up. But because it's a 9, I'm going to say, okay, 279 would round up to 280. So it's 54.280. And that should be the answer. Okay, let's see how we did. Boom, beautiful. All right, last problem. Same dealie. Always start with the hypotenuse, across from the 90-degree angle. Then circle the angle that you're dealing with, even if it's an X. Draw that arrow. That arrow will point you to the opposite side, which means that this 10 over here is the adjacent side. Now use SOHCAHTOA to decide whether or not you will do sine, cosine, or tangent. It all depends on the sides that you're working with. Here we have the 14 and the 10. That's opposite and adjacent. All right, opposite and adjacent is right here. That's why we're going to use the tangent function. So we will go ahead and set up the tangent function. We have tangent of the angle that we circled, even if that angle is an X. Tangent of the angle is equal to opposite over adjacent, which in this case is 14 over 10. So this is the third type of equation. When the variable is inside the trig function, where the angle goes, that's when we do the inverse trig function, and we say the inverse tangent. We put the little -1 on it. And the way inverse tangent works is that these two things will trade places. So the 14 over 10 is going to land here, and the X is going to come over there. But this is something that can be put in your calculator. We're doing the inverse tangent, so you have to hit second tangent, and then you can do 14 over 10. $54.462. Bam. Okay, I guess I should say degrees since this is an angle like they did in the answer key down here. All right, so that is the core of the quiz tomorrow, problems just like this. Okay, so just remember, when the variable is on top, that is when you multiply. When the variable is on the bottom, that's when you swap. And when the variable is inside the trig function where the angle goes, that's when you do the inverse.